How time flies. How time flies. How are you?
Yeah.
How's the
Good.
family? The family's grown.
Family's growing, yeah. Like I said, we moved over October 20. No real plan. Eight bags and 2 kids and a wife, and I've got 3 kids, 8 bags, and still a wife. Just so no, we're good. Still no plan. No.
Good on you. But you've been busy. I mean, watching what you guys are up to, and Alana with the MBE and the new book out and all sorts. It's been non-stop for you.
Yeah, Alana's got 5 books coming out this year. Yeah, 3 kids books, her own memoir, and a business book, How to Ask for Money. So yeah, so really busy. Yeah, and there's a few projects I'm working on as well. I know we're recording, so I'll probably, one of them I can't really announce, but it's still under embargo. But more of a factual documentary with one of the main streaming networks, which should be out towards the end of the year, which is great.
And just sort of lifestyle in the States, how have you adjusted?
Yeah, adjusted really well. Alana and I always wanted to move to America. It's something we always wanted to do. I mean, we just got busy with life, and then all of a sudden we blinked and we had a 9-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. And so for us, it was like when COVID hit, it was while the wheels paused. Take that opportunity, and it's either we go now or we blink again, and then another 10 years has passed. So we came over here, and America is the land of opportunity. I thought it was very cliche, but actually when you're here, if you're willing to work hard, there is no ceiling. You can do whatever you want. But for me, it was more the outdoor world. It was the being active with the kids. That was one thing I really appreciated over here. Very fortunate in Southern California that we have the weather, but it's all here on your doorstep. If I travel an hour and a half east, I could be on the slopes this afternoon skiing at Big Bear. I can go skydiving in Elsinore 30 minutes away, or I could just grab the surfboard now and just head down to the beach 10 minutes. You can literally, everything is here. So I understand when I hear that Americans don't have passports, because if you're into that sort of outdoor activity stuff, everything is here. Why would you travel abroad? So that's really opened my eyes of what's available here, and how they make it very accessible for you as well. All the national parks here, they all have barbecues there. They all have electric hookups. The rivers have places for you to drop the boats in. It's very easy to be involved in outdoor activities, and that's what I've found quite nice here.
Well, it sounds like I wish I hadn't bloody asked, because even though I'm on the coast, it's miserable at the moment, and the weather's dreak, and you know what it's like over here in Scotland.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but
you appreciate it. Yeah, you appreciate it when the sun shines. I think here we're just too very fortunate. Although we have had quite a spell of bad weather. They've had huge rainfalls, huge snowstorms. For the South California, it's quite bad. But for us Brits, I'm still not on maximum reps on my windscreen wipers yet.
And was that the location you wanted to go? Had you looked at other locations, or was that the one you thought you did your recce and you thought that's where we're going?
Well, because we moved over during COVID, we didn't have the opportunity to do a recce. Ideal world, we would have got the visas sorted. We would have come out on a recce, had a little look around, see where we sort of favoured, and pick that spot. But when the embassy's been shut, and because of COVID, we couldn't come straight into the US. We had to spend 14 days in Mexico first, because you had to have that 14-day window. Yeah. So we flew into Mexico City. We went down to Veracruz for a few days on the coast, on the Gulf of Mexico, and we were looking at one of the rental property sites here in California. And we started off north in LA. We have a few friends there. But actually with the prices, and then we looked at the school ratings, it was actually the school ratings which then pushed us further south and then brought us into Orange County. So I'd been to San Diego, I'd been to LA, I'd never really been to Orange County before. And so that was the decider, it was the school ratings. And so we got in touch with the realtor, and just said, yeah, we'll take this place. It was a show home. So it had all the furniture in there because we had nothing. We just had 8 bags. So we that's what we did, and we just dropped into Orange County. And during COVID, different states have different laws. Different counties within those states have different laws. So LA was very restrictive lockdown, pretty much as UK was, because we left in October 20, just before went into the second lockdown. Whereas Orange County was very much, everything's open. And so for us, it was straight in and then start networking and start making business.
And with that, can we touch on it? It's I don't know what you might see it as awkward or not, but schools, obviously picking schools for the kids, and what we've just seen in Nashville, about the crowd, and with your security background, I mean, that must have been on your radar. There are risks in America with guns and school crime.
Yeah, well, one of the first things when I got here, when we were driving from LAX down to the house, I was seeing these signs, and it was like Uber marijuana. I was like, what? So you can actually get it's all legalized here. Whereas in UK, it's totally illegal. Whereas here, you can get an Uber and they can bring marijuana to your house, edibles, all styles. So straight away, that was the thing to me, that we've now moved to a country with different laws. And so, as you touched on, there's the gun law here. And strange enough, I'm now being sponsored by gun brands and optics brands because of my background in the special forces. But, here I really touch on, I understand the Second Amendment. I understand that you need to be able to protect yourself. I get that and understand the American history around that. But I don't believe that you could buy anything up to an AR-15. If I had the choice, wouldn't have a weapon here, but I don't want to be in a position where I can't protect my family or be in a situation that I see that I can sort of intervene. Yeah. So yes, the marijuana legalization, the weapons law, that was a real eye opener here. And what's worrying is the fact that they're willing to pay money to protect sporting arenas, government buildings, but they're not willing to put money to protect the kids. So there's always an argument. There's so much money in the world of ammunition and weapons that I don't think you will ever reverse it at all. There's enough weapons in America. Bear in mind, there's 300 million Americans. There's enough weapons to arm each person 7 times over. Yeah. And so, it's a huge industry. But it's all about education. It's all about having protocols in place, proper due diligence, background checks, and such. So for me, I just sit on a fine line. Really, is the fact that yes, I'm very comfortable with weapons because of my background, and then actually touch on security. As with some of my stories, evacuating embassies, working in Yemen and Somalia, I've never actually needed a weapon. Everything I've done is from actually intelligence led and actually having a plan in place. And that's what's really interesting here for me, especially in the security industry, is the fact that when I talk to people and I say, what's the plan? I said, well, I have a sidearm. I said, well, that's not a plan. That should be plan. That shouldn't even be your secondary or tertiary. That should be plan Z. And then when I sort of talk to them about, having a plan in place and they're starting to get it, but they were born into a world where you have access to ammunition and guns. And so you're not going to change their mindset. It's just more on education. And for me, putting money in the right direction to protect the schools. Because as we saw, I think with the Nashville one, and there's been number ones as well, there was, if I'm right in saying, there was 2 potential targets and they went to the target which had no security. So, that's it. I think if you have a show of force and they know that there's a plan or there's a risk mitigation in place with be it armed guards, then that's enough of a deterrent.
Have you seen the body cam footage of the police officer that shot the shooter? It's pretty full on.
I have, yeah. I've seen that footage. Yeah. I know. I've seen that. I mean, that's night and day. Obviously, you would have probably heard about the Uvalde incident in Texas where they actually did nothing and were just stood there. One of them was just sanitizing his hands. But for me, I obviously come from a background where we do hostage rescues and and building clearances. So for me, it's normal, but I don't think you should stop if there's children dying. You know, you just do anything. Yes, you may take casualties yourself, but you have to go in. But there's an element, you know, in the special forces, we do this day in, day out. We rehearse and train, rehearse and train. You know, the police here probably don't have that same training. So again, it all comes down to money, training, and education. But yeah, I was quite impressed with the body cam. You know, they did everything right, and I think the police here, you know, they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. You know what I mean? They're always under the spotlight anyway. And you know, you only hear on the news the bad things that you see with the police force. You don't hear about the thousands of good things, unfortunately. So, but that body cam was good because it, you know, it highlights and showcases, you know, how professional they are, and the fact their reaction was so quick that it saved lives as well. But I had a great conversation. I was on the range a couple of days ago, me and Alana, with a friend who's ex LAPD. And, you know, my question was, you know, when I see these incidents with police, and I'm like, why is it always it shoot to kill? Why can't you just maim a person? And so, you know, because, you know, when we're training, you know, you can do the headshot, or you could take the leg or the arm. But he explained it in a way that actually, you know, you have to match force for force, and you have to go one step up. You know, they have no real appreciation for life, and so it's you or them. And I sort of got it. And when someone's running, you don't have time to shoot their leg. You just need to stop them. So it was really interesting to get a policeman's point of view on it, someone who's from LAPD and spent years in SWAT. And he sort of explained that to me, because yeah, I can be a critic on my couch watching the news and saying, well, why didn't they do this, do that? But unless you're in that situation yourself, you can't criticize. But I'm getting more of an idea of why the police do what they do and why they have to sort of take some of these more lethal shots. But you know, we're only seeing a fraction again on the news of the amount of police that are getting injured and killed as well.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, I see what you mean there. And if someone was shot in the leg and detained and then punished and put in life imprisonment, solitary confinement, that's good. But having them out of the picture as well, there's got to be some satisfaction in that also, that it was neutralized there and then. But
yeah,
it's a tough one to weigh up. But you can't imagine what's going through that officer's head as he's running up that staircase, and then he sees the shooter, and he just went for it. I mean, like you say, the speed that he had to react, seeing the person round the corner, it's footage. But do you think? I mean, there must be something in the police and the way the media that's gone out. And you mentioned the other shooting where they didn't do, they didn't act quickly. They've obviously pushing this to say, look, get us in a good light. We're underfunded. They're trying to take more funding away from us in the States, and this is what we have to do. They have to step up and put themselves in grave danger.
Yeah, they have to sort of, you know, every day they step out. You know, it's very different from UK. You know, like for us, our police back in UK, they assume they're going to be coming home every night. Here, it's like, you know, it's almost like being on tour every day. You know, you go to work and there is a high risk that you could get shot or killed. And so there is that element of fear as well, I think, amongst the police as well. And I sort of see that, you know, that's why they are quite aggressive in their response, is that, you know, they want to be home and see their kids and see their families. So it's catch-22. I wouldn't want to be in that position at all. You know, at least for me, I was chatting to him as well. At least for me, when I was on deployment, our objective was one objective. You know, it wasn't what theirs is. They obviously, if they can, they need to try and detain and arrest, and you have that civilian community around you as well. And you know, now with the introduction of body cams and social media, you're just constantly under the spotlight. And you know, but no one can train you for those situations. It just comes with experience.
That's it. You mentioned sort of obviously moving to the States, a shift in mindset for you. But when we look at the States and see you start a new business, there's a lot of encouragement, there's a lot of help, support. You know, that British mentality when it's almost it's not there. What have you seen in that regard that you can sort of talk of experience of the American sort of everyone should win, let's do the best we can and let's support?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of our biggest things that we've noticed is like, I don't know whether it's a UK culture. You know, there's a phrase called the tall poppy syndrome. You know, as soon as people are successful, people don't like to, and we also don't like to showcase our success. You know, almost feel like, you know, you need to keep it to yourselves. But, you know, as soon as you pop your head across the wall, they'll chop your head off and sort of bring you back down. Whereas here in the US, it's like, no, you know, how can we help you? Especially in the world of charity. You know, we did the bike ride back in the UK and, you know, raised £930,000. They have this mindset in UK that if you work in charity, you need to be on the breadline yourself. You know, you can't be seen to be successful. That doesn't marry up. Whereas here in the US, is that you can be a billionaire, successful billionaire, and you can also work in charity. It works hand in hand. And so that's been the real eye-opener here, is that yes, you can be successful in business, and yes, you can still do charity without being sort of scrutinized. But it's people here is like, I love it. How can I help you? Who can I introduce you to? It just has got that go-get attitude. Of course, you've also got to, you know, someone said to me when you come here, you know, it take you 2 years to get, you know, identify those that talking shit, and those that can actually deliver as well. So I'm at that 2-year point now. You know, I've had those ones, and you know, and then I've had some ones that open some great doors. But I think for us, where we're now being successful here is from the stuff we did in UK in regards to philanthropy. They love the story here. They love the fact that you've given back, and they all want to do the same as well. And so that's really opened a lot of doors as well.
If I can say, I mean, you were doing it, you've done it for me when you introduced me to NIMS and all these sorts of things. So you had that mentality on this side of the ocean, you know, you were doing that over here for your pals, and I can only see it benefiting you. I still remember when you text me saying, Nashy, I'm going on Jocko. I can still remember that. Because, what a podcast that is. What was that experience like? Because I'm interested to know, obviously, you know, all the guys from Foxy to Ant Middleton, Ollie Ollerton, you've got all these guys, UK Special Forces.
Yeah.
You've mixed with Jocko, Tim Kennedy, Jack Carr, sort of very famous in America, ex-forces and celebrities, you could say. What's that like, being getting into their world?
Yeah, no, it's been really good. I almost feel like, you know, when I was back in the UK, I was almost under the same sort of, not umbrella, but, you know, under the same sort of group as Foxy and Ant and stuff like that. Whereas here, I'm on my own. I'm the Brit SF guy on his own in the US, and so you're not sort of tarnished with that same sort of group. You know, you're here, you're doing your own thing. I admit I didn't know who Jocko was until about a week before when I got introduced. And I remember you telling me, you said, "Oh, you know, he's intense." I was like, "Oh God!" And I don't listen to strange enough, I don't listen to podcasts. And actually, it was interesting because when I went down there, I did listen to one podcast. It was the one you told me to listen to, Pat McNamara. So I listened to Pat's one when I went down, and okay. But when I turned up, it was at his gym. Again, it was sort of everywhere was a little bit of a lockdown, and Echo turned up and Jocko turned up. He just straight away just gives me a big like man hug. I mean, that was it. You know, I was totally relaxed then. But yes, in the ambience of the room, you know, it's dark and things like that. You know, you do get it. I can see where it comes across quite intense. But from podcast lengths, you know, I think we were talking for about 5 hours. And I think that's what was unique about Jocko's. I think you and I know, like in UK, they tend to be about an hour. You know, it's normally the commute time. Whereas with Jocko's, we had so much time, we could cover, we went all the way back to the beginning. We were talking about stuff that wasn't even in my book, or I've not even mentioned before because we didn't really have time. And so, it was good. It was a good experience. And then, you know, from that, they had like Jack Cars. And so, the American communities welcomed me open arms. I was guest speaking at a event in Texas alongside Admiral McCraven, who tells you to make your bed every day, you know. So, you know, now rubbing shoulders at the top end all the way down. But yeah, I just feel like I'm the conduit between the UK and the US. But there's always been that relationship anyway on the battlefield. It's just now, as we are all now civilians, that we still maintain that relationship.
And the Jack Carr, obviously, with the terminal list and everything, have you been nudging him for maybe a role in something in the future, or if he needs a British accent?
No, I actually haven't. But Jack Carr, of them all, probably the most humblest guy, down to earth, or will help you where he can. He's endorsed Alana's book. It was actually quite good because Jack and I got on the podcast when I went over to film SAS Australia. We had to do 14 days in quarantine. And so I had 14 days in this hotel room on my own. So I was just back-to-back podcasts. And so, yeah, Jack and I were on together there. But yeah, such a nice guy. And for me, I always get a sense of someone, not from what people tell me about them when they're there, but behind their backs, what they tell me about. And I have not heard one bad word about Jack Carr as well. Such a humble guy. He's opened doors for us, and we've done the same. And just hard-working guy. But a lot of guys like myself, we leave and we go into the world of security or things like that. When he left, he wanted to be an author, and that's what he did. He became an author, and a successful one as well.
And can I ask you, what about, has Rogan ever come on to the radar? Is that ever been something that's talked about, or can you get yourself? How do you navigate to maybe that podcast if you were going to go on that one?
Yeah, I don't sure. I'm not too sure. I think someone said, he has mentioned my bike ride a couple of times on his podcast and things like that. For me, if I get the opportunity, yes, it'd be great. But I've got a couple of things in the pipeline, which will probably, with that and what I've done already, that may give me an opportunity to get on there. But for me, I don't really, I don't know. It doesn't matter whether you're Joe Rogan or whether you're a young lad just starting off in podcasts. I don't really prioritize. I think that young lad I did a podcast with in Australia could be the next Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? So for me, and I don't really get starstruck. But yes, he has a great following. Once they say once you hit Joe Rogan, that's you've made it. I wouldn't, obviously, if you rang me up and said, would I go on the podcast, I wouldn't say no. But maybe one day, but I don't really go looking for it.
And you talk on Australia there. How was the SAS show? Did you enjoy that, putting the guys through their paces?
Yeah, well, as you know, I was obviously originally asked to do the original show as the chief instructor, and I turned down season 2, and for a while I've been turning it down. And the reason I did it, actually, and this new show, which is even bigger and better, which is going to be coming out, which is huge, global network as well. I'd spent a lot, my anonymity was exposed, obviously, with the bike ride and the book, and I'd really steered clear of those sort of shows. But when I put the Nile challenge, which you and I know was going to be the next challenge, kayak the River Nile, the longest river. When I started putting that to sponsors, to documentary teams, they love it. They love the idea, love the concept. But unfortunately, we're in a society where it's like, well, how many Instagram followers you got? I was like, really? No, it doesn't matter how many world records you've got or how many millions you've raised for charity. It's like, how many Instagram followers you got? And I was like, so I sort of got it. I walked away from that meeting a bit peeved, actually. I was like, really? Yeah, we are in a society where it's so fixated on numbers. And then literally a week later, I got a phone call from SAS Australia saying, look, we'd love for you to come over to Australia and do this. And I thought, okay. And then at the same time, I was also being approached by this huge network about this other concept. And so I thought, well, I'll tell you what, let's put the Nile on hold. And then let's work on building this profile, then this media profile, because what that then does is once your media profile grows and people know more about your story, and that's what it is. It's about visibility. It's like Joe Rogan. That one episode with him probably would do enough for me to get the Nile going. So the plan is to do these shows and then bring the Nile back to the table. And then what that does, it brings the sponsors, it brings the production companies, but from a fundraising perspective, it brings more eyes to you as well. So when you're looking at hitting targets, it's probably more achievable. So that was my reasoning for doing that, was the fact that we needed to raise the media profile, which then long term would then help the campaigns that we run.
And this new one you've just mentioned, you can't tell too much about that, no?
Yeah, no, it's under embargo, unfortunately. But it's in my wheelhouse. You know, it's not Bake Off, it's not a gardening show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's well within my wheelhouse, and I know what I'm doing there. So, but it's gonna it's first of a kind. It's not been done before. Very factual. It should be cool.
Awesome. Now, I know you, how driven you are and Alana and as a team, guys. How far ahead do you plan? Do you go in yearly ahead? Do you 5-year plans, 10-year plans? How do you look at things and sort of set things out of where you want to get to?
We like every year, Alana and I, New Year's Eve, we'll sit down, you know, a couple of bottles of wine or I'll have a bottle of port, and we'll pull out the dreams book, you know, and see where we're still at. I always feel that you need to write things down. You know, I'll still write down what I need to do for the next day, the day before, and then I'll do a weekly one. So for us, yes, we have ideas and plans, but we're in the world where a phone call can change that. You know, doors are always opening. There's always these new opportunities. So for us, but we do always reference back to what are our goals? What are our goals for 2023? And we have them written down. What are our goals for the next 5 years? And you know, sometimes you may deviate from that because, like I said, different opportunities open. But yeah, I think you need to have them written down. You need to have goals. And then, you know, one thing that Alana and I is probably unique, and I see it with yourself and the Nashy family, you all do things as a family. You know what I mean? It's, you know, do it together rather than doing it on your own. So we try and do as much as we can together. But for me, it's like, you know, I'm enjoying this, you know, this media stuff. You know, it's nice guest speaking, writing books, and, you know, I've got another book potentially coming soon. And, you know, Alana has her 5 books. We've got these TV opportunities. But, you know, that's my side hustle. You know, it has a shelf life. I'm not naive to think, you know, I'm 46 next week. You know what I mean? I'm not no spring chicken. So for me, I have to think long term for the family and here. And actually, with the book, the US book, the UK book, you know, the feedback was, you are the security guru. You know, I got 1,200 people out of Afghanistan. You know, none of them were our client. You know, I'm still doing a lot behind the scenes. So for me, that's I'm sort of balancing my time between that security and what we're doing. But with Alana, as you touched on now, with her receiving her MBE, it's perfect timing because she's just about to sort of step forward. I'll probably step back, actually, and then Alana will step forward.
You're gonna have to look after baby Harley. I mean that's been what you're balancing with the new baby and everything. I love watching Instagram posts, and you touched on there doing it as a family, and we do that on a lesser scale to what you guys are doing. However, there's something about it. Like if you're on stage or you're doing something and you look and you do see your family watching on, they are supporting. I in my world get a lot from that.
Yeah. Oh no, you do. I think also as well, when you do certain things, like for me with the bike ride, you know, when I was in the military, I was going away on tours. You know, you have to go away; it's part of your job. But when you're a civilian and then you're choosing to be away for 4 months cycling 2 continents, you know, if you're doing that on your own without the support of your wife and your kids, that's a lot more difficult. You're probably not in the right mindset or in the right headspace. And so actually having the whole family involved, having the wife supporting, the kids supporting, makes it a little bit easier. You know, there's no sort of resent back home, and you're doing it for the bigger picture. So that's why we do it. And if it doesn't, and if not everyone's happy with it, then we won't do it. It has to be happy for everyone.
I also find if there's catering, it really pleases the kids. And you're always a winner if the kids
are my kids are at an age where I just bribe them. Was that?
Oh yeah,
McDonald's. Yeah.
Bribe them with food. There will be sausages and all sorts of hot snacks and things, guys.
Yeah.
You're going to enjoy it. But Dad's just got to do something for half an hour and then we're gone. Okay.
Yeah, but I think you know, I'll probably touch on. I probably won't pitch it too much. But Alana and I are about to launch our own podcast soon, and it's called Behind the Scene, as in scene as in SWEN. And it's literally, as we've just chatted about there, people would see me, see Dean, the world record holder, you know, the guy there. But actually, there's always someone behind you. There's always someone supporting you for you to be able to do what you need to do. You know, there's always, in every relationship, someone probably sacrifices their career for someone else to be successful. And so the podcast, we're going to get guests on, not primarily probably couples from sporting entertainment, business, law enforcement, military, and share their stories, because I think for anyone to be successful, someone in that relationship almost has to sacrifice, or actually tends to be working behind the scenes anyway. And that's what I mean for Alana. With me, she runs everything. As she tells me, I had the easy job. I just had to ride the bike. You know what I mean? She ran the campaign, raised all the money and everything else. So yeah. Well, we'd love to get you and your wife on that as well.
Oh, well, hey, you know, we would come on. I think you get a bit more of well-known people. But
no. Well, that's the thing. I don't think you need well-known people. Yeah, yes, it's good to get well-known people, but people will resonate or be relatable to those. You know, it's the fact that it doesn't matter whether you're well-known or you're you know, a normal person. I don't mean anyone's normal anyway, but you know, you're Joe Blogs. You know, it's the same messaging. It's just a different family.
What I've just done there is what you just said about British people will put ourselves down. We won't. I've just talked myself
exactly.
out of a brilliant opportunity there for the Get After It family, because I
ignored you though.
Now, when I think that through, I'm kind of like, well, what I talk about is maybe quite relatable, because next door I can hear the carnage of my kids. Abby knows, and they know Dad's on a show.
Yeah.
40 minutes, 45 minutes. Please be quiet. Please don't burst in. The amount of time to have. What I actually go through to get on stage at Edinburgh Rugby, the logistics of getting my kids' shoes on, getting them in the car, to Murrayfield, don't break anything, get off the stage, please behave. You're going to have to just sit there while I'm on stage. The logistics of people seeing me there, all happy, hi, how are you? Great to see you. What a game. Hello, coach. Hello, nice to see you. When actually I'm on stage thinking, please don't smash any glass. Don't kick off. The two brothers start fighting. I get that. I get the principle of your show, of the moment of what has to go on behind the scenes to actually get to the start of something.
And that's the thing. And you know, everyone sees social media. Everyone sees social media, and they see the final product, or they see, you know, the polished product. What they don't see is what's going on, you know, behind the scenes. Who's having to sacrifice? Who's doing what? And you know, you've probably seen that analogy, Abby, with the swan on the lake. You know, I mean, it's just exactly like that. You know, it looks elegant from above the water, actually below, you know, it's flapping away, and that's it. But I think, you know, anyone who, and the reason we want to do it as well is when I see successful people, I see people doing well, I always like who's behind them, who's actually making that happen for them, or who's helping them or giving them that opportunity. Because I, you know, when I guest speak, I you know, without sounding arrogant, one of my final quotes is, I genuinely believe that anyone can break a world record, as long as you've got someone looking after the business, looking after the mortgage, looking after the kids, and all I've got to do is just train, then it's achievable. So when I see success in whether it's business or sport, I always know that there's a team behind them. So that the purpose of this podcast is bringing that team to the forefront, and then them sharing their stories of what they've had to do to support them.
I am just this week, earlier this week, one evening, I had a show with a guy, he's former Royal Marine. His name's Wayne Otten. I've not released it yet, but he's behind the scenes he's a medic. He's an extreme medic.
Okay,
so, former Royal Marine sniper, paramedic. But that's why I was so interested when it was recommended that I should have him on the show, because there are the guys that I speak to that are in front of camera.
Yeah.
I know how they're such a team, a massive team behind it. And he's talking about like guys getting bitten by snakes in the Amazon and all these sorts of things. And I'm like, what do you do? If that happens, how do you react? What is going on behind the scenes? He was on the ship that found Shackleton's sunken boat. The endurance, he was there, he was the medic on all these sorts of things. So yeah, interesting behind the scenes and what we see, the glossy finished product.
Yeah.
The mayhem or the things he has to do behind the scenes to make sure he's got everything he needs when he goes into a place where there's no evacuation.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. So, well, it's like, you know, for every special, I think the statistic, for every special forces operator to step off a helicopter, jump out of a plane or dive, it takes 7 other people you don't see, you know, whether it's the armorer, the chef, the pilots, you know, so it's the team, you know, that person, that SF operator wouldn't be able to do that if one of those key components fails. And that it's not just in special forces, in sport, you've seen it in rugby. the size of the team behind the team. You know what I mean? The physios, the coaches. There's so much, and so that's a key element as well. Anyone who thinks they do it on their own, talking shit, there has to be a team around you.
You see it. We've seen it. You see Johnny Wilkinson, that famous World Cup drop goal, but you watch his forwards and Martin Johnson taking the ball for that last push to get him in that position. Johnny Wilkinson, that was all over the news, and Martin Johnson, but the work rate from Richard Hill, Neil Back, Matt Dawson, everybody in front of him, to get that momentum for that one moment. Yeah, it's so true. Isn't it?
The Tour de France. These guys just dragging these guys up the hills for like 2 weeks, and then you get the yellow jersey. And they probably put, effort-wise, they probably put 50% compared to those that, So it's all about teamwork, and So behind the scene will be, that person or who supported that for you to be able to do that.
So come on, I remember when you first came on my show years ago, back in the old office, and Alana
in Edinburgh, wasn't
it? In Edinburgh, and Alana was with you, but it was always Alana that I was emailing to book you in. Yeah. So I remember that system working, and then I met Alana that day and things like that. Do you guys agree on everything? Has there been things that, what was I trying to say? You say, I think I should do this, and she can no. How do you get on when there's a bit of conflict or something? Because you're a partnership in business, but husband and wife, mom and dad.
Well, I came from. No, we don't get on. No, we see things completely in two different ways. I still. Like Alana's books, like How to Ask for Money, a business book, How to Ask for Money, how she'd raised millions and done everything. I came from a culture of the special forces where you have to trust everyone in your team. You have to trust. You trust them with your life. And so I've come from that world, and then I step out into the corporate world, and I still had that mindset. Oh yeah, they said they're going to do this. Alana's like, just because they said it doesn't mean they're actually going to do it. And so she was almost like that grounding for me. Is like, you'll soon learn about the corporate world. It's not the same as that. And so Alana used to get really upset at me because I will share information when I don't mind. And Alana's like, that's worth money. That's an IP and things like that. If you put did you charge your time? I said, well, no. And she's like, so we used to really sort of rub, clash on that, because Alana was like, people are taking advantage of your goodwill and things like that. And so we used to almost be like good cop, bad cop. I'm the sociable one. I would be I'm the extrovert. I'm the one who's at the front, chops it off and things like that. And everyone like, and then Alana would then swoop in with NDAs, and contracts, and they didn't like it. But I'm very uncomfortable talking about money. And I still am. I don't really. Alana does all the back of house, the contract, and the way to sort of explain it, I've got, with the special forces, I come from a background where if I'm planning an operation in Afghanistan, and I need 2 Chinook helicopters, I need UAV, I need some fast air, I need a squadron of guys, no one gives me a bill. No one tells me how much that is going to cost, or asks for, put a proposal in or an NDA. It's done. Yeah. And so you come from that world to a world where everything has, it has financial implications. And so we do thinking with that, because Alana's used to jokes, because what have you given away today? It's like, okay, I get it. And then a bit like, I'll reference it, the bike ride. We chatted about it after that. I took 18 months off, didn't work at all, trained for the bike ride, did that. And, we raised a huge amount of money for charity. But then Alana then rightfully said, but what did Team Stott get? What did Family Stott? And we didn't get anything. We actually financially were put ourselves at risk to help others. And so, that's where Alana and I sometimes will be at loggerheads. But I am starting to slowly learn more about the corporate world. And she said that's one of the things she loves about me. I'm just very open, and I will like to help people. And I like to share things. And she's like, and for the right people, yes. But then she sees the snakes in the corporate world, and she's like, well, they've just taken advantage of that. So yeah, that's where we do come to loggerheads.
Yeah, but a good partnership, someone that's got your back, and you're out there doing your bit. So yeah, I can see.
Yeah. Good cop, bad cop. And she's the bitch. She's the one who swoops in with the NDAs and contracts, and actually, it works now. That's why Alana manages me as well. You know, it's like, you know, if you want to speak to Dean, you have to, you know, come through me. Obviously, you bypass that and just went straight to my WhatsApp. We're good.
Am I in Alana's bad books?
No, you're all good. Yeah, you're all
Well,
good.
maybe she'll come on for a chat at some point. All the books,
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah. When the books come out, yeah. So and that's why I was over the moon about Alana getting her MBE. So she got her MBE for services to vulnerable women for the stuff she does with human trafficking, and also mental health awareness. So for me, it was like the money that she raised on the bike ride. And so, like I said, it's the behind the scene. People would have seen me breaking the world records and, you know, doing that. But actually, I love it because Alana is now being recognized for what she did, but, you know, behind the scenes for that. And it's perfect timing because it's given her the credibility when her books come out now. As well, actually, you know, How to Ask for Money. Well, she has actually raised $1.3 million on one charity, and she's done numerous other charities since as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you yourself, obviously, I won't keep you too much longer. I know.
Hey, as long as you want me, mate.
No, but I want to talk about dad life. I do a lot with the dads here in the local village where I am, and the dads and dudes and things. How's the dad fitness? I know you're always in good nick and good shape, but how's things at the moment? What's got you training just now? How are you constant with it? Do you have your off days? How's it going?
Well, this show, I can't really talk about too much. It's almost like my short-term training aim. You know, you need to be fit for it as well. So that's sort of kept me ticking over. You know, I always believe that you have to have an objective. You have to have something to train for. Otherwise, it can quite easily fall into that trap of, well, I'm not training for something, then I don't need to really get up. You know, for me, it's all about, there's an element of pride in yourself in staying in shape. And also that everything you do is a reflection on your children. Your children are always, as you know, children are always watching. You know, even when you don't think they're watching, they're always watching. And so for me, you know, my father was very old school. You know, he had me out training and running things like that. I haven't really forced that on my kids. You know, if they want to train, they can train. If they don't have to. You know, I understand that actually you can start a sport at any age in life and be successful at it. So, but for me, I again, it's pride in myself, in my appearance, and especially in what I'm doing as well. I can't preach about something if I then, you know, I don't look the part as well. So my next book is based on fitness as well. So I need to be in good nick for that. But I'm also mindful. I'm 46. I'm not getting any younger. But for me, I want to be in a position that when my kids do get into sport, as in like my daughter now started really sort of taking an interest in soccer. Well, it's football, but it's soccer
Football.
Yeah. And so that's perfect, you know. And I want to be in a position that if she does take that on, that I can be there to support and still run alongside her.
Kick the ball about with your kids. It's important.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It's important. Yeah, and I just think, you know, again, back to the earlier conversation, living here, we're very blessed that we have the weather and we have, you know, the peak behind us. It's called Santiago Peak. You know, it's not that big compared to the mountains in the next valley. Santiago Peak is bigger than Ben Nevis. It's like bigger than anything we have in UK, and it's almost like a throwaway hill here. And so I really take for granted what we got on our doorstep. So it's not even just sports. You know, Alana and I like to at least get out with the kids once a week, whether it's a walk along the beach or up the hills. But sports-wise, I'm not going to push it on them. But I want to be in a position when they do decide that they want to do a sport, that I'm there to be able to be in shape as well and support them.
See, when you mention the mountains there and the sea, I'm thinking mountain lions and sharks. What have you got?
Yeah.
Both? You got both?
Got both, yeah. We have the mountain lions here. We hear the coyotes at night. And then, yes, you go down to Dana Point, probably 10 miles away, and there's whale spotting, there's sharks. And then you go to Catalina Island, there's dolphins. Yeah, it's all here. You know, it's the reason it's a tourist resort.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I do listen to the American wildlife podcasts and Rogan and all that
really?
sorts of things. And there's mountain lions jumping in back gardens, stealing dogs, and all these sorts of things.
Yeah,
you still got to be on your guard. You got to be on your guard for these things. And you're surfing. Obviously, you're in with the sharks.
Well, yeah. I love surfing. You know, again, it's one of them ones I don't really take advantage of the time here. You know, and it's actually on my things to do list this year is to get more time in the water, because you know I've surfed since a young boy, and actually also on our list for the years to teach Alana and the kids to surf. So we're looking forward to the summer. And I'll get them in the water, because we have, you know, Trestles is 15 miles away. That's where they do the finals of the world surfing competitions each year. And so I need to pinch myself sometimes how blessed I am where we are. Disneyland, I think it's 20 minutes the other way. I've avoided that.
That not your kind of place.
I'm actually Alana being Scottish and being quite tight with her money. I've just got my California driving license, because if you're a resident of California, you get 50% off. So that's what we've been waiting on.
That's it. You'll be going soon. You'll be going soon. And is this obviously? I mean, I'm not trying to pry here, but if you feel settled, there. Do you miss the UK, or is there homesick at all?
There's been a couple of occasions. And a lot of friends said to me, "Don't look back." And you know, I did when we first got here. I felt a little bit guilty, because I knew UK had just gone into that second lockdown, and I knew it was hard back at home. And then there's me skydiving in Elsinore, and Alana doing a tandem jump, and I was like, I don't think we should be really showcase. But then everyone messaged, said, no, please post, because we want to know what it's like when the doors open. Yeah, when the doors open again. And so I was a bit reluctant to that. You know, now we've been here a couple of years. You know, California is lovely, very expensive. You know, expensive taxes and things like that. But you know, you can also earn quite well here. But I think, you know, our kids are really settled here. They've settled into school really well, and doing really well, actually. And so we're conscious that not to disrupt them too much. So now we've got our green cards and things like that. We know we can now look at buying properties and expanding on businesses, which is good. So, you know, I am looking at the other states. But I think for the children growing up, school will probably stay in California and maybe buy in another state. And I'm just learning that, you know, it's not 50 states, it's 50 countries. Each state has its own laws, different taxes, you know, cost of living and such. But we're fortunate we came in. The problem is we came here first, and it is like mini Disneyland. Everything's very well landscaped and stuff. We came back to UK in September for an embassy interview for the visas, and my kids were like scared to death walking around Heathrow, like, what is this place? I'm like, oh no, I've spoilt them. So I'm keen to sort of bring them back to some grassroots again, you know, getting back to the basics. We're actually taking the kids, we're doing a charity event in Mexico in the summer, where we're going to go build houses down in Mexico, a few hours across the border. And again, it's just really, it's more for my children to really highlight how lucky they are that they have running water, they have electricity, there's internet all the time, and sort of, I don't want them sort of falling into this Orange County bubble where they think everything's safe and, you know, a very false sense of security. I sort of want to keep them grounded.
Yeah, good on you, mate. Well, it's good to hear. I'm delighted that it all went well. I can still remember the burgers we had in the garden here. And it's been a pleasure just getting to know you. I know a lot of it's on social media, but watching what you guys are doing, your family's growing and blossoming in America. And thank you for keeping in touch and coming back on the show.
Oh, thank you. And we'll be in touch, and we'll get you on the podcast. And then if you and the Nashy clan are over in California, the door's always open, buddy.
Oh, mate, don't offer that. There might be five headaches coming pretty.
That's right. I mean, Alana did the same. When people offer us, we're there. We're like, no, we're there. We've done that a few times, actually.
Awesome.
So,
cool. Thank you so much. All the best to the family. Thanks for
cheers,
coming
buddy.
on. See you again.
Pleasure. Have a good one, mate.